In the last 3 videos, we have covered all the interview questions about Laravel controllers. In this video, we are discussing requests and validation. We keep it short and to the point. No lengthy explanations. If you want in-depth Laravel tutorials, check out our Laravel framework series. Let's get started. How do you handle form requests in Laravel? Let's enable the store endpoint for the user. Here we have created a view file, create.blade.php, and added a form in the view file that accepts some values for creating a user. We have fields for name, email, and address, and we are loading this view in the create action of the user controller. Let's load the form in the browser. Now, in the store method of the user controller, accept a request object. Use the all method of request to get all submitted data from the form. Let's dump the submitted data for demo purposes. Load the form in the browser. Fill all the fields. And then submit. We can see all the submitted data, name, email, and address. But there are other values, like token. The all method returns everything that the client submits. But we should not accept all values from the client, for security reasons. We should have a list of allowed values. Use the only method for that. Instead of the all method, use the only method and pass an array of parameter names that we want to accept. For demo purposes, let's accept name and email only. Nothing else. Reload the browser. We are only getting the name and email, though the client submitted other values. Now, let's discuss about validation. How do you add validation to a request in a controller? Use the validate method of the request. Validate accepts an array. Keys of the array are names of the parameters, and values are the validation rules. Let's define the validation rules. Name is a string with a max length of 255 and is required. Email is required, and it should be a valid email address. Address is also required. Let's dump the validated data. Fill the form. Let's keep the address field empty. We have a restriction on the front end. Let's remove the front end restriction for demo purposes. Now reload and fill the form. Keep a few fields empty. When we submit the form, the validation method returns error messages. Let's change the max allowed length of the name field to 2. Enter a name longer than 2. Submit the form, and the validation returns an error for exceeding the max allowed length, and we are printing the error message using the @error directive. And let's add a user to the database. Fill in the form in the browser. If we enter an existing email address, then we get an error related to that. Let's enter a different email address. Submit the form. We get the validated data name, email, and address.
What is a request class in Laravel? and how is it used? Instead of writing the validation rules inside our controller, we can create a separate custom request class and put our validation rules there. Let's create a request for storing user. Use the command php artisan make request, then our request name, store user request. This will create file named storeuserrequest.php inside the app requests directory. Let's open the file. The storeUserRequest class extends the form request class, and the form request extends the request class and implements validates when resolved interface. The created request class has two methods defined by default. Authorize, which is used to check if the user is authorized to perform this action. Let's return true from this for now. But you can perform your checking and return a Boolean value. Then, from the rules method, return the set of rules as an array. Follow the same pattern that we used in our controller. Request parameter name as key and set of rules as value. Now, in the store method of the controller, use store user request object instead of the default request object. We do not need these validation rules here. Remove these. Now we can use the all or only method to get the values. Replace the request injected into the store method with the store user request. Fill the form and submit. We receive the data. The proper way to receive the data is to use the validated method from the request object. The validated method gives us values of those parameters, which are defined in the validation rules. What are the benefits of using form request validation over inline validation in controllers? Cleaner controllers, separation of concerns. Moves validation logic out of controllers, keeping them focused on business logic. Reusable validation rules. We can reuse the same request class for multiple methods if they share the same validation. Centralized validation. Keeps all the validation logic in one place, which is easier to debug and maintain. Authorization logic included. We can define authorize to control access to the action directly inside the request. Custom messages and attributes. Define custom error messages and field names easily in the request class. Easier testing. Request classes can be unit tested independently from controllers. Improved readability. Developers can glance at the request class to understand all validation requirements rather than digging through controller logic. So, use form request when your controller actions are getting cluttered. You want to reuse validation rules. You need authorization on a per request basis. You're building APIs or large applications. How do you handle file uploads in a controller? Add enc type equal to multipart form data to the form in the blade file. Add the form field. Here we are naming the file field, avatar. This field will be used to upload the user avatar image. In the request add this avatar field. Make it required. Only accept image of type JPG, PNG, GIF, and max allowed size is 2 megabytes. Now in the controller, use the store user request. We can use the validate method to get the validated data. Now check if the request has a file named avatar. If file is present, then get the file in the variable avatar. Set a name for the file. Then store the file with store as method. We are saving the file inside the avatars directory, inside storage, public directory. Let's fill the form. Select an image and submit. Here is the final file path inside the storage, public directory. Let's check the file. Here it is. We are discussing Laravel routes in the next video.